Is it a good idea to sell blue poles? And if so, what do you spend the money on? Where do you spend it? What else could we sell? Senator James Paterson, good morning.
Morning, Neil.
Do you know, well, I'm sure you do, our interest bill's about $100 million a day. You sell blue poles today, it's gone by Monday.
Well, Neil, it's like a marathon runner being at the start of a marathon and saying, this first step that I'm going to take is only 1/10,000th of the steps that I need to take in this marathon, so I'm not going to bother starting.
So will you just sell other things too?
Absolutely, Neil. We've got a pretty serious debt problem, $470 billion of gross debt. As you said, $100 million a day of interest. And if our generation doesn't fix this problem, it is our children and grandchildren who are going to be left with this burden. And they're going to be left with this burden because we've been spending money today on our ongoing outgoings, our normal expenses, not because we've been investing in infrastructure for the future. And it's going to be them that has to pay it back. And I think that's wrong. And we're going to have to look at a lot of different things, including things like selling blue poles, to fix that problem.
Okay, so why blue poles specifically? Because it's worth a lot of money.
It's probably the most expensive painting that we own in Australia. I'd be very surprised if we had anything else in even the vague vicinity of $350 million. It's actually one of the most expensive paintings in the world. And as you point out, it's an American painting. And look, it's a great painting, and it's had a huge impact on the art world, but it's not Australian. And my preference is to use the money to pay down debt. But as you point out, there are a lot of other ways we could spend the money as well, including on Australian artists and Australian art.
What about something concrete? I'm all for selling it, but I want something concrete that benefits people directly, whether it's a facility for the sick or the injured or the homeless. Something here. Put a sign on it. This is the Jackson Pollock facility.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Other practical things are things like roads. The Tullamarine widening project costs about $250 million. That will have a more dramatic impact on most people's lives than a Jackson Pollock painting sitting in the National Gallery in Canberra ever could, because it will cut their commute time. It'll make it quicker for them to get to the airport, or quicker to get to work, and quicker to get home to their family. That's kind of a much better use of the money.
Well, let's really push it out. Why don't we have a total reassessment of our priorities and say, why do we put $7 billion a year into the arts, and heaven knows how many billion into sport? Maybe we reassess and say, let's fix some grassroots problems and forget about sport and the arts.
I agree, Neil. $39 billion deficit last year. I think that we can't afford. It's not a time where we can really be affording luxuries, and we've got to look at all areas of spending for savings.
Would you be cutting back on sports spending?
Yeah, I find it difficult to understand why Australia so generously funds professional sport, given that there is a lot of private funding for professional sport. I don't think it's really necessary for us to be funding it from our taxes.
All right. What else would you sell?
Well, I think in time we've got to look at things like Australia Post, which is already privatised in many respects. It's a government business enterprise. It runs on a profit basis. I think that's the next cab off the rank, probably.
What about the old Parliament House? Sell it off and turn it into a hotel.
Interesting idea, Neil. On a serious point, though, the New South Wales government recently privatised some sandstone buildings in the CBD, and they were previously being used by the Education Department and other departments. And the idea was, as a department of government, it actually isn't very accessible to the public. You can't just walk in and look at these heritage buildings.
Yeah.
They've sold it to developers who are going to turn it into a hospital, a hotel and a mall and other things like that, and actually will become, by being owned by the private sector, much more accessible to the public. So anything that makes it more accessible to the public and pays off debt at the same time, I think is a good idea.
And with the art, if you're going to sell other artwork, you wouldn't sell anything Australian, though, would you?
Well, the priority certainly would be art that we bought from overseas, which has great value commercially, but I think it has not a lot of greater cultural value to Australians and to Australia because it's not Australian.
Great talking point. Thank you very much, Senator James Paterson.